Good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 26th day of November, 2018. Well, we have an 8-day in this month and year of illumination. It governs practical matters and harmony. Well, I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. My turkey turned out really nice. I medicated it with cannabis oil. Well, what it was cannabis-infused coconut oil. And you know how you can lift up the skin around everything. And so what I did is I stuck my hand under there and had it all smeared with cannabis coconut oil. And so I just smeared it all underneath the skin of the bird, and it's nice. You know, I already had a butterball turkey, so it was already infused with butter. So, you know, it's already going to be good. But with the cannabis oil, it gives it a different flavor. It gives it a really rich flavor. You don't taste the cannabis at all. It just, I don't know, it just makes it for a richer turkey, even when you don't use a butterball. I've done it with ones that aren't butterball turkeys, and it's just as good. In a way, that's what you're doing to it. I'm just not injecting it, you know. Although I could have melted it, I suppose, and injected it. That would have been good. Maybe I'll try that next year. But I put up several blog posts over the last few days while I was off, and one of them was how I made my stuffing recipe, my stuffing that I did, and it actually turned out really well. I think that I've done homemade stuffing maybe one other time in my life, and it didn't turn out very well. And it's like the first time I ever made drop biscuits. If you were to drop them on the floor, they would have broken the floor, literally. So that was a long time ago, though. They're not like that anymore. But anyway, it turned out really well, and I'm really happy with it. So I think I'll do it again the same way next year. But anyway, hopefully everybody got back home. They closed the border. If you went to Mexico and you drove there, well, you couldn't come home yesterday. Hope you brought your gas masks. Yeah. There will be an end to this eventually. Hopefully, the eventuality is sooner than later. We have to have a good immigration policy. But we also have to have one that doesn't lob tear gas grenades at babies. So there you go. Let's count 13 and see what we have for today, this Monday. A day of mystery and femininity and the feminine divine and intuition. And, well, we're going to draw another one because we got the Page of Swords. Well, here we have undeveloped potential. We have a message maybe coming, so we may be getting some new information today. You know, he's kind of focused on the past, you know, kind of leaning, though, into the future, isn't he? You've got some clouds in the background. So there's some mystery or some things that we don't know yet. So maybe we'll be getting some information today that we didn't know already. But let's see if we can shed just a little more light on either what it's about or what happened just before or something. I like to have a little bit more information when I pull court cards. So well, it's the Eight of Cups. This always seems like a really somber card to me. He's walking away from emotional stuff that's no longer working for him, basically. It's just been too much emotion, maybe. It aligns with today's numerology of 8. that we do have the strength to move on, that we need to look at things more practically and less emotionally. We see the mountains in the background, they're kind of craggy, and you can see that he's kind of going going upward. There's a slight ascent. So he's willing to tackle new problems and new issues. So whatever the message is, it could have something to do with the outcome of this, or, well, yeah, basically you could say that wherever he is going, we're looking at undeveloped potential. And maybe and since it's a swords card and that's intellect, then maybe we're looking at more reason based on more on intellect versus emotions, maybe a little more rational thinking going on over this, and maybe we've just had enough. Maybe it was the Thanksgiving holiday. I don't know. You just got to walk away from it. But that's interesting. Let's see what the rune has to say, though. I like the Eight of Cups a lot because it's showing us that there's more than we get ourselves all caught up, don't we, in how we think and feel about stuff, and we can't really see other perspectives. And sometimes things are just so emotional for us that we have to shut the door on all of it. We have to walk away, and we have to find something else to do. It's just too much. And how I've always interpreted this card, you've got the moon above, but so there's an air of mystery to it and in the air of the unknown. So he's walking off, away from these emotions that are no longer serving him. And basically then we're going into something new. And you can see where here's the thing, here you have night, so the unknown, all right, and here you have daytime. So there may be some clouds. So there's walking off into the unknown. Maybe we're going to get an unknown message, unknown realization. Maybe something's going to come through today, but we're letting go of whatever is blocking that. This weekend, yesterday's events at the border, I was watching, online to see what people were thinking about it. And you have people that are horrified, and then you have people that basically seem to want everyone else to double down on these folks. Somehow or another, we're to blame the mothers, for bringing them. We don't stop to think about what it was. What was the catalyst that sent them here to begin with? We don't want to ever look at that, apparently. And so now we have a situation where these folks you've got two different schools of thought. So I'm hoping that maybe after everyone had a chance to sleep on it and think about the ramifications of what they did, shooting the tear gas grenades like they did, you've got troops on the border, you've got border patrol, you've got police, you've got all kinds of folks. Did we really need to do that to babies? Well, this is going to be probably the emotion versus reason discussion we're going to be having in the days to come, I think. And so that may be what we're talking about here, letting go of these emotional responses that really aren't helping. What they did yesterday, by anybody's definition, has to be wrong. It was the wrong decision to make. There were lots of other decisions that could have been made. I had one person say to me, "Oh, but they were throwing rocks." Okay, there's lots of ways to deal with that. You don't have to send tear gas over that affects little toddlers, okay, and small children. You don't have to do it that way. Lots of other ways to deal with this. We knew they were coming. Lots of ways to deal with it. Why did they find a space in the fence they could get through? Why wasn't it fortified? We got all those soldiers down there just hanging around, putting up concertina wire. Do something. If you're going to misuse our troops that way, then misuse them. Make them do something. But oh no, we didn't do that. So there's a hole. They got through. Was it planned? Who put the hole there? In other words, if we're there trying to fortify that fence, how did they get through? They shouldn't have been able to get through. So how did that happen? Did they cut the fence there? Maybe. Maybe they did it when they got there. But that's not what it seemed like what I read. What I read is that it was more that they, it was there and they got through. So Lots of things to do. So maybe this is what it is, emotions versus reason today. Trying to figure out, well, okay, where do we go from here? What is the message here? How are we to think about it? Well, this is Yira. And Yira, let's see. Yira is the 12th rune of the Elder Futhark. I've given up remembering their numbers. Some of them I know by heart. Others I'm like, what was that again? Well, I'm old, so what do you do? Anyhow, we have Yira, which is balanced energy exchange. It's about fertility and growth. You've got enlightenment, both forward and reverse, because you've got Kenaz. There we go. I knew I'd get it eventually. You've got Kenaz forward and reverse, so you've got the torch. It's a catalytic rune for cycles and energy exchange. It can be used I use it in a bind rune in my garden. But as the 12th rune of the Elder Futhark, you're looking at a 3 numerologically, so that's catalytic, certainly. But it's an earth element rune. It speeds growth. It basically means year, and it's the rune of transformation and balance. It promotes change for the better. So I'm hoping that what this is signaling is that we're going to get a clue here and agree that we can't do this. This is about alignment in energies, or energetic alignment in relationships, I should say. I'm getting ahead of myself there. Peaceful prosperity. And I love one of the things, this is the one I was going to look for, but I couldn't remember exactly what it was. But I've written down here that it brings gentle revolution and improvement. Being an earth element energy rune, the earth can have upheaval, right? But it can also have this sense of gentleness whenever we go out in nature and we just walk around, out in the forest, or just, gosh, even I can just go out around my property even, and you can look at the gentleness of nature, how things just grow and they're just there. And with cultivation and care, they can be even more than what they are. We can have fertility and abundance. Well, the same is true in our relationships with one another. And when we're at odds with one another and we can't figure out that it's not okay to treat people this way, then, by throwing tear gas at them, then we've got a real problem. There's something in a person who can't understand that by any measure here, what happened yesterday at the border was wrong. And if you can't understand that, then I don't know what to say for you. Go spend some time out in nature. Go spend some time grounding. Go spend some time thinking about what we owe one another as human beings, to not hurt one another. When did it become okay to hurt people? You see. So now we have, all of this emotion surrounding the desire to do that, don't we? We get all caught up, it's a self-righteous feeling, isn't it? Where it's okay. Well, why didn't the mothers leave them at home? Why did they bring them here? Well, they brought them here because they're terrified where they live. They live in great poverty. They live in great violence. They're worried about their children being taken from them. They're worried about them being put into child slavery. They're worried about them being put into the drug trade. That this is a bad situation in these countries. And instead of the world coming together and trying to figure that out, and create a scenario, a Yira, a feeling of Yira, where you can actually come together and find a way to build harmony and all of that together. But no, we ignore all of that. We let it continue, and nobody tries to lend a helping hand. And then at the end of the day, when they come here, we're gonna do this. There has to be another solution. There just has to be. If we need to change our immigration policy, so be it. If we need it to look differently, so be it. But we don't do this. Not at the expense of children, okay? We already have them in cages. I know that the current administration wants to paint a picture that it's all the Democrats' fault. No, it's not. These are choices that these people have made during this administration to do these things. Stop blaming everybody else for what you do, That would be a good place to start. Just own it. own the travesty of it. Because from a perspective of being a mother and a grandmother, I couldn't look at those pictures. I couldn't watch any videos. I just had to, I couldn't see it. It was too much for me to think that we're willing to do this. So I'm hoping that today we can find a way to resolve these emotions that are not working for us, these passions, these emotions that press us into these decisions that we make. We're angry, we feel cheated, we feel slighted, whatever this is at the heart of all of this. A country has got to have an even inflow and outflow. Obviously, resources are finite, basically, ultimately, in any country. And so you have to have a way of managing all of this, people that want to come in. Well, do that. Stop arguing with one another and just do it. Get it done. But don't do it at the same time you decide, and then decide at the same time that it's okay to harm people. The emotional destruction alone that we're doing to these children will be with them forever. And then what? Say you send them home. They grow up. They come back, don't they? And not in a good way. So why would we start it this way? Why would we not begin from a standpoint of responsible compassion? And the most responsible thing we could do is to help them in their own countries. That would be the most responsible, assuming we can get their governments will allow it. Because if their governments are the ones that are doing it, and likely they're doing it or they're turning their blind eye to something else, then that's what you have. But with Yira, the rune Yira, what it's telling us is that we need to balance. We need to balance within, the polarity within. We need to be balanced with one another. We need to seek solutions that respect the integrity and the sovereignty of each individual. Okay? To have nothing happen to them that isn't positive. All right? To have nobody go around trying to hurt someone else who's just trying to save their own lives. Now, maybe this was the wrong thing for them to do to come to this country. Clearly, the guy in charge doesn't want them, wants them to go back. Well, okay, I suppose that's one way to look at this. But at the same time, we've been doing this for years. Why would they believe him? He lies every single day. Why would anyone believe what he says? So this is an issue, and unfortunately, the wrong guy's at the helm to try to resolve this. I didn't watch the thing on 60 Minutes last night. There was I guess a report on all of this, and I guess that it was pretty heart-wrenching. And so I'm an empath, so it's just not something I can't deal with that level of emotion. So just knowing about it is bad enough for me. So I'm hoping that, today we can figure out a way to let go of all of this emotional reaction, because in the emotional reaction are all the isms, the sexism, the racism, the ageism, anything that is hurtful to other people, that oppresses other people. That's where the emotion, it stirs, we stir up, you get somebody who gets the idea, right? And then they go stir up all this emotion in people. But what if it's the wrong emotion? What if it's the kind of emotion that then stirs up violence? A lot of us waited for more yesterday, and we're all very grateful that nothing more happened than what did. So anyhow, think about that for today. Think about how you balance head and heart, and see if maybe the heart's just going a little running amok a little bit, maybe, and getting you to a place where maybe you see danger where there isn't any. You see the other when you should see a brother. We've gotten out of whack there, I think, and we see too many enemies and not enough family. So it's not that there aren't some bad guys out there, but there aren't as many as we think. We just have to stop doing this to one another. So anyway, something to think about. Thanks so much for coming by. A little bit of ranty today, but yesterday I could not believe what I saw. So there you go. I'm sorry. I'll try to behave a little bit tomorrow. We'll see what happens today, though. Anyhow, thanks again for coming by. If it's your first time, welcome. I hope you come back. I'm not always like this, but things are a little crazy right now, aren't they? Lots of weird things happening that we don't quite know how to make sense out of them. Don't know what to think about them. Can't believe they're happening. So, anyhow, if you've been here before, welcome back. I'd love you all to click subscribe to the channel if you would. Go over to my blog. I did some writing, like I said, this weekend, and there's some stuff up there that's new. It's Stepping Aside at imsteppingaside.com. And anyway, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Find some balance, and blessed be.